The courtroom fell silent as the tomb guard stepped forward, his polished boots echoing like a metronome. Corporal Ethan Carter, in the pristine uniform of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, stood tall, the Medal of Honor gleaming on his chest. Whispers rippled through the crowd, some in awe, others in disbelief. Judge Hargrove leaned forward, his voice sharp as a blade. "Remove that medal, Corporal. This is a courtroom, not a parade." Ethan's eyes locked onto the judge, steady, unyielding. The air grew heavy, the kind of heavy that stops hearts. No one knew that a woman in the back row, a retired colonel who owed Ethan her life, was already rising to her feet, ready to turn the room upside down with a truth that would shatter the judge's authority forever. Before we dive into the story, where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe that values like honor, courage, and sacrifice still matter, join us in keeping their legacy alive. The morning air in Warrenton, Virginia hung heavy with the scent of damp grass and history. The small courthouse, a squat brick building with tall windows and a colonial steeple, stood at the heart of the town. Inside, the wooden floors creaked underfoot and the ceiling fan spun lazily, stirring the stale air. And the courtroom was fuller than usual, not because of the case, a mundane dispute over a rural road easement, but because of a man. Word had spread through Warrington like wildfire through dry brush. A tomb guard still serving was set to testify. Not just any tomb guard, but one who wore the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military decoration for valor. The whispers had drawn a crowd, locals, veterans, a few reporters all packed into the pews, their eyes fixed on the door. The bailiff's voice cut through the murmurs. "All rise for the Honorable Robert Hargrove." The crowd stood, chair scraping as Judge Hargrove entered. He was a tall man, 60, with a face carved from years of wielding authority. His black robe draped over his shoulders like a mantle of control, and his gray eyes scanned the room with the precision of a hawk. He sat, adjusted his glasses, and nodded to the bailiff. "Call the first witness." The bailiff's voice rang out again. "Corporal Ethan Carter, please take the stand." The room fell silent, the kind of silence that presses against your chest. Every head turned as the door opened and Ethan Carter stepped inside. He was 28, tall and lean, with a face that seemed older than his years, eyes deep with something unreadable, hair cropped short beneath his tomb guard cap. His uniform was immaculate, the dark blue coat of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, crisp white trousers, black shoes polished to a mirror shine. Each step he took echoed with the precision of his training at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. 21 steps, pause, turn, repeat. On his chest, pinned above his heart, gleamed the Medal of Honor, its blue ribbon starked against the dark fabric. The crowd watched, some in awe, others in quiet respect. A few veterans in the back row straightened their hands, twitching as if to salute. Ethan reached the witness stand, turned sharply, and faced the room. His movements were deliberate, each gesture a testament to the discipline of a tomb guard. He stood at attention, waiting. Judge Hargrove leaned forward, his eyes narrowing as they fixed on the medal. His voice was sharp, like a blade, slicing through the quiet. "Corporal Carter, before you are sworn in, remove that medal. This is a courtroom, not a military ceremony." A murmur rippled through the crowd, soft but electric. Ethan didn't move. His eyes met the judge's, calm but unyielding. "With all due respect, Your Honor," he said, his voice low and steady, "this medal isn't mine. It belongs to the men who didn't come home. I wear it for them." The judge's face tightened. He leaned back, fingers drumming on the bench. "I don't care who it belongs to, Corporal. This is my courtroom, and I set the rules. Remove it or you won't testify." The air grew thick, the silence heavier than before. A woman in the 3rd row clutched her purse. An older man, a veteran with the faded army cap, shifted uncomfortably. Ethan's hands remained at his sides, but his gaze never left Hargrove's. For a moment, it seemed he might refuse. Then slowly, with the same precision he used in every step at the tomb, he reached up, unfastened the Medal of Honor, and placed it on the wooden ledge beside the microphone. The soft clink of metal on wood echoed like a gunshot. The crowd exhaled, some in disbelief, others in quiet anger. Hargrove nodded, satisfied. "Swear him in," he said to the bailiff. Ethan raised his right hand. "I, Ethan Carter, do solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth." So help me God. The bailiff stepped back. You may be seated. Ethan sat, his posture still rigid, his eyes fixed somewhere beyond the judge. The attorney for the plaintiff, a young man named Paul Grayson, in a press suit, approached. Corporal Carter, please state your name and occupation for the record. Ethan Carter, he said, his voice carrying the weight of gravel. Amherstshire, 3rd Infantry Regiment, United States Army, stationed at Arlington National Cemetery. Grayson nodded, glancing at his notes. And were you present at the property in question on the date of the dispute, April 12, 2025? Yes, Ethan replied. The questions continued, dry and procedural, about the easement, the road, and a disagreement between neighbors over access rights. Ethan answered each one with clarity, his words clipped and precise. But the room wasn't listening to the details of the case. Eyes drifted to the metal on the ledge, glinting under the fluorescent light, stripped of its place on Ethan's chest. The air felt wrong, like a flag flown upside down. Grayson paused, sensing the tension. Can you describe what you saw when you arrived at the property? Ethan leaned forward slightly. I was visiting my neighbor, Mr. Larson, to discuss the road. His family's been on that land since the Civil War. I got there around 7 a.m. The gate was open, but there were two men I didn't recognize, measuring the boundary with a laser device. They said I didn't have permission to be there. And did you? Grayson asked. I've had access to that road for years. Mr. Larson's father served with my uncle. They gave me a key to the gate when I was a kid. Grayson nodded. No further questions, Your Honor. The opposing counsel, a slick attorney named Richard Holt Studd. He was younger, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Corporal Holt, he began, his tone light but pointed. You mentioned a key. Can you confirm it was given to you legally? Ethan's eyes flicked to Holt, then back to the judge. It was a gift from the Larson family. I've used it for 20 years without issue. Holt smirked. 20 years is a long time. Memories can fade, can't they? Ethan's jaw tightened, but his voice remained steady. I don't forget what matters. The crowd stirred, a low hum of approval. Holt hesitated, then pressed on. So you're saying your memory of this alleged agreement is perfect? I'm saying I know what I was told, and I know what I owe. Holt's smile faltered. No further questions, Your Honor. Judge Hargrove leaned forward, his voice cutting through the room. Let's keep this moving. This isn't a history lesson or a war memorial. We're here for facts, not feelings. The words landed like a slap. A man in the back row wearing a Vietnam veteran's cap clenched his fists. A woman whispered to her neighbor, That's not right. The room's energy shifted, a current of unease rippling through the pews. Grayson stood again, sensing the moment slipping. Your Honor, may I recall the witness later if needed? Hargrove waved a hand. Fine, step down, Corporal. Ethan rose, his movements deliberate. He glanced at the metal on the ledge, his eyes lingering for a fraction of a second, then turned and stepped down. The crowd watched, silent, as he returned to his seat. The metal remained where he'd left it, a small piece of metal that seemed to hold the weight of the room. And then it happened. From the back of the courtroom, a woman stood. She was 50, with short, cropped hair and a presence that filled the space without effort. Colonel Sarah Ningwin, retired, once Ethan's commanding officer in Afghanistan. She wore a simple navy suit, but her posture screamed military. Her voice was calm but commanding. Your Honor, may I speak? Hargrove's head snapped up, his glasses glinting. This is a court of law, ma'am, unless you're counsel or a subpoenaed witness. I'm neither, Sarah interrupted, her tone steady. I'm Colonel Sarah Ningwin, United States Army retired. I served with Corporal Carter in Afghanistan. I was there when he earned that medal you made him remove. I'd like to address this court. The room froze. Even the bailiff seemed unsure, glancing at Hargrove for direction. The judge's face twitched, caught off guard. This is highly irregular. You have no standing here. I have the standing of someone who owes her life to that man, Sarah said, stepping into the aisle. Her voice carried, not loud, but heavy, like a drumbeat. In 2019, in Helmand Province, our convoy was ambushed. 12 of us were pinned down, taking fire from 3 sides. Ethan ran through a hail of bullets to pull us out one by one. He carried me 200 yards with a bullet in his leg. That medal isn't a decoration, it's a debt. The crowd was silent. Every word landed like a stone. A young man in the second row, Jake Morales, a freelance reporter with a YouTube channel, quietly raised his phone, recording. Hargrove's face reddened. "Colonel, you're out of order. Sit down or I'll have you removed." Sarah didn't move. "With respect, Your Honor, you're the one out of order. Ethan Carter isn't just a soldier. He's a tomb guard. Every step he takes at Arlington is for the unknowns, for the men and women who gave everything. You asked him to remove